Again, good morning to all of you and welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Today, as we gather together, as I said earlier, we celebrate Catholic School Week, and we come together with great joy with our faculty and staff, along with our students and their families, to share this wonderful week that we are embarking on. Today, as we come to hear the Word of God on this fourth Sunday, we hear about Jesus coming to his own town, coming to a temple. And he had been in Capernaum, where it says he had been doing some great things. And then he came to this wonderful town, back to Nazareth, and went into the synagogue. And the people initially were impressed with what he had to say. And then all of a sudden, something changed, and they wanted to throw him off the hill. And I think that just speaks about the fact that being a prophet is not that easy. Even Jesus encountered resistance and pushback. Even Jesus encountered things that we would think would not have happened to Jesus. But he did. And that stands before us as a sign that we too are called to be people who are prophetic in our society and in our world. We too are called to speak the good news, even in the fact that sometimes people do not want to hear what we have to say, do not want to hear what you may want to proclaim, may not want to hear the things about justice and peace that Jesus continued to proclaim to the people of Israel. And thusly, obviously for him, this is a foreshadowing of what was going to happen, that his proclaiming and his preaching and his sharing all the words that he shared, the good news that he was from God, caused him his death, caused him to be crucified. Here is a prophet, and again, he's sharing with them about Elijah and Elijah. Again, reminding the people that even these prophets were killed. Even these prophets did not, again, survive sometimes their prophecies because people did not like what they had to say. Each and every one of us gathered here have been anointed with the oil of chrism. And that oil of chrism is a sign that we have been anointed as priest, prophet, and king. And that took place at our baptism. And the question I think we need to ask ourselves is, how seriously do we take our prophetic mission to proclaim God's good news? How seriously do we take it to live it each and every day, to put it into action for others? How serious do we bring, again, God's good news to bear on the choices and decisions that we make each and every day? Jeremiah the prophet, in the first reading today, speaks beautiful words. And I hope you heard those words as applying to you yourself. Jeremiah writes, "The word of the Lord came to me, saying, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I dedicated you. A prophet to the nations, I appointed you." Each and every one of us were known by God before we were even conceived in the wombs of our mothers. Each and every one of us were dedicated, it says, by our God to be prophetic people who speak the good news to the ends of the earth, to all the nations, wherever we find ourselves. Do we take that mission seriously? And he reminds us, and again, Jeremiah is being questioned by God and saying, but do you gird your loins, stand up and tell them all that I command you? Do you live it each and every day? He says, don't worry about being crushed on their account as though I would leave you crushed before them. For it is I this day who have made you a fortified city, a pillar of iron, a wall of brass, against the whole land. God will give us the strength. God will give us the courage. God will give us what we need in order to, again, be that prophetic person in the society and the world in which we live. Against Judah's kings and princes, against its priests and people. He says, they will fight against you, but not prevail over you. For I am with you to deliver you, says the Lord. Beautiful words from Jeremiah the prophet. And I think these words are so appropriate as we begin Catholic School Week, because it is our teachers who take very seriously this prophetic mission. It is our teachers who take seriously living this each and every day in the classroom with their children. Each and every day, they come to share Christ's good news and to bring Christ's love into the hearts and the lives of our young people. Each and every day, they make Christ present to our children through prayer, through the ways of through their kindness, through their patience, through their understanding, through their teaching. All of these ways are ways in which we continue to pass on the faith and to share that faith and to help our children to continue to grow in age and wisdom and grace before their God and before all of us, their family and friends who love them and care for them. We hopefully are very grateful for our teachers, grateful for their willingness to be that prophetic person in our society and our world. In fact, all the teachers here, the teachers who are here, please stand and be recognized. We want to please stand. Teachers, all of our teachers, please stand. Doesn't have to do St. Anthony teachers. You could be, let's give them a round of applause. And our staff as well, they can stand as well. They all work together very well. But that's who we are. That's what we are supposed to be about each and every day. That is our call and that is our mission. Today, as we celebrate Catholic School Week, we also listen to the words of St. Paul. And St. Paul is very, very clear. And these readings that we have from St. Paul usually are read at weddings or anniversaries. You know, love is patient, love is kind, love is not jealous, it's not pompous, it's not rude. It goes on and on and on. And we know this passage because it's very familiar to us. But Paul was not writing this for a wedding or for a wedding anniversary. Paul was writing this to a community of people. Paul was writing this to the church that he established in Corinth. And he wanted that church to understand that no matter how many things you do, no matter what you do, no matter how many good things you do, no matter how many prayers you say, no matter what you do, if you do all of that without love, then it means absolutely nothing. It is lifeless. Because it is the love of Christ that, again, continues to motivate us to do what we do each and every day in the classroom, what we do each and every day in our homes, what we do each and every day in our society, in our world, what we do each and every day in our places of business. It is the love of Christ that impels us. It is the love of Christ that moves us. Again, he reminds us, you know, you can have beautiful words and speak beautifully, but if you do it without love, he says, it means nothing. You can have great faith and ask, you know, the West Maui Mountains to jump into the sea. But if you do it without love, he says, it is no good. He says you can have great protests and speak about justice and give your body to be burned for a just cause. But he says if you do it without love, it means nothing. God is not interested in the numbers of things that we do. God is interested in how we do it. That we are doing it with the love of Christ. That we are doing it because of our God who has loved us so much that he was willing to send us his Son who died and rose so that we might have everlasting life. Again, we know full well that that's what teachers do. It is the love of God that impels them. It is the love of God that gets them up in the morning. It is the love of God that gets them dressed and to work. It is the love of God that puts them in the classrooms to share the wisdom and the knowledge that God has given all of us, to share the wonderful things about this world that God has created, so that our young people might come to appreciate all the goodness of the Lord, that they might taste and see the goodness of the Lord, that they might better be able to again become the people that God intended them to be, that they might realize the fullest potentials of their lives, not just physical and emotional, but also spiritual part of their lives that makes such a difference in all of our lives. For what we believe, we put into action. For what we believe, we live. And so these teachers are making such a major difference in our lives, in the lives of our children, and in the future of our world. May we continue to pray during this week for our teachers, our faculty and staff, for all who make St. Anthony possible and Catholic education possible throughout these islands and throughout our world. And may we continue to again know that our God is with us and calls us to be the prophets that he needs in this world to bring his healing and his compassion to the hearts and lives of all our sisters and brothers.